So the soul wants to say that, I'm in love. The mind will automatically catch that message and start expressing. अगर कोई दुखी है तो वो क्या राग बजाएंगे, शिवरंजनी बजाएंगे तो एकदम से पैथोस आ जाना चाहिए, या कोई खुशी का राग बजा रहे हैं तो अगर यमन बजा रहे हैं तो मेडिटेटिवनेस आ जाना चाहिए. बट एप्टीट्यूड इज समथिंग दैट कम्स विथ यू. You find that out in the early years, and the body is the biggest instrument that we have. Like the voice is the biggest instrument to communicate. Now, if a dancer is using the whole body and trying to show something, so you have the hands, you have the feet, you have the body, so we can do mudras, we can say this is the deer or the cow, and then we can show the milk coming, we can take the pot, we do all these things, Radha, Krishna, all that.
Usha ji, welcome to Voice of Artist. It's our pleasure to have you here. The year is 2024 and we are sitting in Mumbai. Can I request you to close your eyes for me? Go back to your childhood, the year of your choice. Tell us the first time you made a mudra with your hands even before learning dance forms.
Okay, that's a long time ago, but it's a very interesting episode and I think all of you will enjoy hearing it. So I must have been about 3 or 4 years old, and my older sister was already learning dance. She was 4 years elder than me. And so I went along, I would tag along to the dance class with her because I loved all this tam jam going on there. And so in our dance class, there was this big hall where everybody used to learn. Master used to sit on top and everybody was dancing, and there used to be rooms at the side. So I would enter one of those empty rooms and I would be jumping around there and see whatever they're doing, and I would do that at the side. One day, suddenly, my master saw a shadow coming out. So he said, "Who's inside?" he asked. So his sister came and said, "The child is playing." So he said, "Call her out." "Who is the child?" So I came running out, and I was so panicked that he caught me, So I said, I stood very scaredly. I was looking at him. Then he said, "What were you doing there, child? बच्चा क्या कर रहे थे वहाँ पे?" And I said, "कुछ नहीं, मैं खेल रही थी." He said, "नहीं, तुम कुछ कर रही थी, मैं देख रहा था यहाँ से." So I said, वो लोग जो कर रहे थे ना, मैं वही कर रही थी. So he said, अच्छा, तुमको आता है, डांस करना आता है? So I said, हाँ, मुझे आता है, वो सब जो कर रहे हैं वो भी मैं कर सकती हूँ. So he said, चलो फिर देखते हैं. And then he was teaching them something on Ganesh ji, and I did the whole thing with him. And in my own way, I had picked up the whole piece. It was about 4 minutes. And he was so shocked, and he told my parents, he said, मैं इसको फ्री में सिखाऊंगा, इसको रोज़ क्लास भेजना. That was the first attempt that I did. And from there on, it was just like I loved it, wanted to be in dance class. Though my parents wanted me to learn music because my sister was learning dance and they thought I should learn music. So this is this very South Indian mentality that somebody should be a musician in the family, somebody should be a dancer, somebody should learn a percussion. तो ये कुछ orchestra बनाने की कोशिश होता है. तो but I didn't want to go for music class, but I still went because my mother felt कि थोड़ा म्यूज़िक जानना ज़रूरी है. अगर आप डांस सीख रहे हो फिर भी यू शुड नो म्यूज़िक, बिकॉज डांस डजंट एग्जिस्ट विदाउट म्यूज़िक. तो तुमको संगीत सीखना ही चाहिए. सो आई हैज़ टू गो टू म्यूज़िक क्लास, बट इनवेरिएबली माई urge was only to learn dance.
Expression is such a beautiful word because you might have experiences, but to bring it out and express needs a skill, needs a talent, needs a perspective. And you're the right person for me to ask and understand from, Usha ji, because you know the dance forms, you know the music form, you also have done English literature, so you know the spoken and unspoken form of expression. Do you find a commonality and pattern in this, the way we express ourselves using our body?
So expression, as you said, if you're talking of literature, it's through the mind. So the mind is trying to express a thought, and that's how poetry is coming in or literature comes in. And when you write a poem, the mind is experiencing that thought and creating. It's like making one outline and then doing filigree work inside that and then making this very beautiful, piece. That's how poetry works. And the mind is expressing it. Soul and mind work together in all this, because if the soul is not in that form, the mind cannot uh, get the kind of expression that the soul wants to communicate.
Right.
So the soul wants to say that I'm in love. The mind will automatically catch that message and start expressing in a ballet, or in a ballad or in a love poem. Okay. Now, if that is the thing of the mind, we have mind, soul, and then now we have the body. So the body is like a vehicle. Whenever we speak or whenever we are trying to say something, in daily life we are doing it. Expression is coming in daily life. So small baby, if it's say 6 months old, sitting on the floor and you have a piece of cake and you take it to its mouth and then don't give. So it will immediately scream. So the expression is starting right from the day they are born, So the reaction to what is happening to them, that means they are already thinking from within, ये अभी मुझे मिलने वाला है, ये मैं खाने वाली हूँ, अच्छा वो नहीं आया तो immediately वो गुस्सा हो गया या रोने लग गया. This expression, what we are doing in daily life, is stylized and made in a certain way so that you can communicate to even a distance. People sitting far away also can be communicated, and then how to communicate, like we spoke about spirituality or philosophy or stories or mythology, how to communicate them. We can't do it in just a matter of fact, colloquial daily way, but we want a classic approach to it. That's why you have Shakespeare writing differently and you have some other writers writing differently, colloquial language, classic language. Similarly, in dance, we have the folk forms which just speak their minds, like Shadi ke gaane and all these Holi ke gaane. All these folk forms are actually expressions of social behavior and thoughts. They are done in the most beautiful manner and naturally. But if you're going into a classical form, you are stylizing that, you're doing that filigree and polishing and structuring it so nicely so that you bring it out in a form that is looking, in a manner in which it gets some kind of dignity and a caliber to it. That is the difference between from folk to classical. Now, any form, when you do it, whether it's music or it is percussion or there may not be melody in percussion,
right,
but there are thoughts that are expressed. I've seen Birju Maharaj do just with tabla, two friends talking and saying, let's go for a movie. The other friend says, no, I'm not interested in you. So he would do all these things just to show that even in rhythm, you can show expression. You don't have to have melody for it. You don't have to have words for it. You don't have to have somebody singing it. Without all that, you can show expression. So different forms of mediums have developed expression in their own which way. And the body is the biggest instrument that we have. Like the voice is the biggest instrument to communicate. Now, if a dancer is using the whole body and trying to show something, so you have the hands, you have the feet, you have the body, so we can do mudras, we can say this is the deer or the cow, and then we can show the milk coming, we can take the pot, we do all these things, Radha, Krishna, all that. But for a singer, there are only words and the voice. But through that voice, if they have to show the pain, you can hear Girija Devi's Thumri or Shobha Gurtu's Thumri, and you can feel so sad when they sing something, or you can actually feel romantic when they sing something. All these things, even if you look at film music like Rafi Saab, my mother said the greatest romantic in the world was Rafi Saab's voice, The way he could communicate affection, like for example, that Aapke Haseen Rukh pe aaj naya noor hai. Now you take that song, what a beautiful song. The moment the piano starts playing and that voice starts, you feel that whole romantic setup is clear for you. that is expression in music. So the voice has to bring that expression. What they feel inside comes out in that expression in the voice. Similarly in music, whether it's instrumental, the meend, the taan, the way they use the instrument and the strings or the flutes to communicate that feeling. अगर कोई दुखी है तो वो क्या राग बजाएंगे, शिवरंजनी बजाएंगे तो एकदम से पैथोस आ जाना चाहिए, या कोई खुशी का राग बजा रहे हैं तो अगर यमन बजा रहे हैं तो मेडिटेटिवनेस आ जाना चाहिए. These are the things that are interpretative. So art has been mostly personified, as in personalized and interpretative. So the body, whatever we have, these are all our instruments. And these instruments, if you don't tune them properly, they will sound besura. So you come to sur. What is why you have to be in tune? Why should the body be in a certain manner? Why should the body have a certain stance? Or why should the voice be in tune and practiced well? Instrument को साफ करना, तेल लगाना, टाइट करना, लूज करना, ये सारी चीज़ें हैं because you want to come out with the right sur. You have to be in tune. You can't be besura. So this body also has to be worked like that. Every art form has to be in tune, cannot afford to be out of tune, and the communication will happen only when you internalize what you're trying to express.
What did it mean to you to dance or to be able to dance?
So my first program, my master made me do Krishna, and I have a picture, I'll show it to you later. In that picture, I'm wearing Krishna's costume. And the hall in which they had that program had two side wings, which were mirrors. And through the program, I looked in the mirror and I saw Krishna there, and I said, what a cute looking Krishna. And I was admiring the Krishna, I forgot to dance. So my mother from the side is saying, dance, dance, what are you doing? Come on. And I was just looking at that beautiful thing. For me, it was like divine look,
Yeah.
Started with that. But by the time I was 14, I knew that I wanted to do this. So I in fact gave up school 1 year. I got a scholarship and I learned Kuchipudi from a different teacher. I went and stayed at his house in Ahmedabad, came back, and I was going back and forth. I left the school for 1 year. My mother said, next year when you go to class, you will have little girls and you will be tall in them. And you shouldn't feel bad because you will be older than all of them. I said, it doesn't matter as long as I can go and learn from him now. And they sent me to Ahmedabad and I came back, and slowly my interest and seriousness in the art was not just about, by then it was not about performing, by then it was not about costume, by then it was to understand what this form is and to understand the style of it, and the curiosity to understand what is Kuchipudi, what is Bharatanatyam. Are there so many styles of Bharatanatyam, so many gharanas or different banis, we call them in South India. So all this I was keen to understand that. So by the time I became 17, we shifted to Bangalore, and my mother said, if you want to write, you have to learn more. So then I moved to different teachers to learn every style basics so that I could, when I'm reviewing, I should not say that they are not doing it fine because I learnt it one way and यही सही तरीका है, लेकिन उनका स्टाइल अलग है, वो तरीका भी अच्छा है, वो तरीका भी सही है. ये सीखने के लिए I went to many other teachers and developed myself to read and write and understand about the art form. By then it was about research and I had moved on from the costume and the beauty of it.
Precisely to do this, what you just explained beautifully, to encourage people to be open about what art is, to be open about the different journeys that different people can take to find the artist within, is why we created this platform called Voice of Artist. So welcome to Voice of Artist, Usha ji. It's a pleasure having you here.
Thank you.
You started as an artist and you are one of the lucky ones who has grown as an artist also. But at the same time, and more importantly, you have brought the artist out in many other people. Who is an artist? Is artist inborn? Is it cultivated?
So, talent is something that probably the child has in them or doesn't have in them. So there has to be some kind of aptitude or some interest to move towards that. So as a child you will see many children dancing. You'll find many parents saying, oh मेरे बच्चे तो बहुत अच्छा डांस करते, टीवी ऑन करते ही नाचने शुरू करते हैं. That just shows that they have an aptitude for it. They have some sense of rhythm in their body which is going along with the sound that is coming out of that box. You know, some rhythm sense is going on. This is a basic thing that some children have naturally, some people don't have. They may be able to read and to write better, or they may be able to understand language better, or they may be able to draw better.
Right.
But aptitude is something that comes with you. You find that out in the early years, and then you have to nurture it. Then it's cultivated. So the first step of the child is to, first parent is to identify कि हाँ इसमें ये कुछ है, ये कर पाएगी, या इसको इसमें इंटरेस्ट भी है. कुछ बच्चे घंटों संगीत सुनते हैं, आप टेप ऑन करके रख दो, वो चुपचाप बैठ के सुनते रहते हैं. सो दे हैव एन एप्टीट्यूड. दे, इट इज़ नॉट दैट दे आर गोइंग टू बिकम अ परफॉर्मर, or it's not that they're going to start their own band, but they have an aptitude for it. They can move in that direction. But for that, you have to give them the arms and ammunition. Can you send a guy to the front to fight without arms and ammunition? So you have to equip them. And how do you equip them? So you send them to classes, you see what they develop. Somebody you send to a tabla class, they may want to learn drums. And they'll come out with it. They'll say, ये ठीक है पापा, लेकिन मुझे ड्रम्स सीखने की इच्छा है. So you allow that. That is the time when many parents say कि नहीं पढ़ाई करो और ये सब बाद में. ये these are co-curricular activities. They are only meant to be in the sidelines. Sometime when you have a free hour, you do it. But otherwise, you better learn to do this. Of course, today, initially there was, I would say in the early 60s and 70s, there was nothing like that. My parents said to me, they said, you make a career out of what you want. They never forced me to do engineering or MBBS or any CA or anything. But post my education period, maybe in the 80s and 90s, suddenly it was that our child has to get 99.9%. So then all the parents would teach their children art, but by the time they come to 10th to 12th, they'll say no more dance class, no more music class. And after 12th, they will be struggling to either do CAT or NEET or this or that and go into some engineering college, and then that will become like a hobby. Some children, they continue it out of pressure for them because they themselves want to continue it.
Right.
कहीं कहीं कुछ गाना गाते रहते हैं, या कॉलेज इसमें गाएंगे, या कुछ कॉलेज में डांस करेंगे, कुछ करेंगे. कई बच्चे छोड़ देते हैं. बट जब प्रोफेशनल बन जाते हैं ना, तब उनको लगता है अरे यार मैं करती तो अच्छा होता. अभी भी मुझे कई लोग आके पूछते हैं, आई लर्न डांस व्हेन आई वाज अ किड, कैन आई स्टार्ट नाउ अगेन? एंड इट्स पॉसिबल. आर्ट इज लाइक साइकिलिंग. If you've learnt it once, you can always revisit it. You'll never lose the balance of it. You know, you can ride a cycle even in your later years if you have learnt it before. Just like swimming.
Right.
So, those years when you have to encourage the child, those years if the parents support and open them up to all this that is there, like giving them a full meal. Let them later choose what they want to become and where they want to go in it. But at least give them the taste of everything.
This is a statement which is full of hope and encouragement, because a lot of people get discouraged by the realities of life, and like you said, they leave art behind. But when you say, and somebody like you who has been in the art and classical art specifically for the past 40 years, you have encouraged thousands, if not lakhs of children, young or adult, to pursue their art professionally. It's very important listening from you that you can pick it up when the time comes. The speed at which the world is moving, the sheer amount of overwhelming information people process every day. How does art help to ground oneself, to find the core in this practicality of life?
So the first thing that either parents or the youngsters is about how they're going to settle in life. Okay, how am I going to earn? मैं घर कैसे चलाऊंगा? मैं खाना क्या करूंगा? How will I sustain? So for that, when they look at art as a form, they feel that performance मैं कब करूंगा, मैं कब famous होऊंगा और मैं कब कमाऊंगा. Okay, But today there are so many other options. There is teaching, there is choreographing, there is dancing for others in a repertory. You may not be their student, but you can dance for them. It's just like going into a film and acting. Okay, so there are so many character actors. Okay, they are not struggling with one film in their life or only one genre in their life. If somebody says you come and do this role of an inspector, they are doing. If they are saying come and do the role of father, they are doing. Similarly, a dancer can go and become Rama somewhere, can become Krishna somewhere, can become something else somewhere. So you have, the world is opened up now. So you can do all these things also. But beyond all this, in this whole din, what is it that will give them the strength to hold on to what they love and what they want to pursue vis-a-vis the world and its, fast movement that's going on and the challenges of sustaining? Art itself has, like everybody says, a meditative approach. Okay, nothing comes without introspection in art. Okay, all our art forms are based on philosophy moving towards spirituality. Okay, so philosophy primarily teaches you that this is the world, this is how life is going to be, but here you have to do this to sustain yourself. And so first think about your own self, be a good human being. Now all these things that it teaches you, it only enables you to become stronger within. The core that we talk about today, strong core होना चाहिए, वो core जो है, that is we from inside. It is not something from outside that we are going to, there's some ball here and I'm going to strengthen it. No. It is the whole self inside. All the chakras together are one core. And where you start developing those strengths that you have from inside, that itself will bring Thera in you. And the more you practice and the more you understand what you're doing, you will get more philosophical, because our arts are only philosophy. They are only lessons, they are only morals. So as you start understanding it more and thinking about it, say, अरे ये तो इतना आसानी से ये ऐसा बोल दिया था. और कबीर ने कहा कि मैली चादर हटा दो तो साफ सुथरा बन जाओ और फिर एक हो जाओ भगवान के साथ. तो ये बात तो उन्होंने इतने आसानी से कह दी. तो ये जो आसानी से कहने वाली इतनी बड़ी फिलॉसफी हम आर्ट में बहुत आसानी से समझ जाते हैं.
The power of expression of complex thoughts, put simply.
Yeah, very simply. Whereas when you want to read and write and pass an exam and all these things, I think it becomes more tough for the person. Whereas in art, it's very simple. Just the expression will start making you feel that you are able to get.
Art and the intersection of different forms of art is what I'm curious about now. And you have brought it to life in such unique ways. While you have encouraged people to pursue the classical art forms of dance and music, you have curated new forms of expression using the classical art form. Talk to us about the intersection of art. You brought poetry and made visuals out of it. Talk to us about Adi Ashtakam.
So, when I thought of Adi Ashtakam came because I had visited Sringeri and I was at the Sharda Peeth there, and I went to their library, to a bookshop, and I picked up a book which was on the short compositions by Adi Shankaracharya. Of course, we've all heard them before, like we've heard Gangashtakam, we have heard all these things. But when I bought the book and I came back and I went to take darshan from Swamiji after that library business, and then I'm in bookshop, and I went there and he saw the book in my hand and he said, do something with it, he said. So I said, okay, and I came back home. That was 2014, almost 9 years ago. So then I started reading each of the Ashtakams. As I was reading the Ashtakams, I was getting visual pictures of what he has written. Adi Shankara describing a particular deity or a river or whatever gives you a visual description. If you translate Sanskrit to English, you'll understand the meanings. Then I went to Kal Bhairav temple in 2016. And when I went there, on the wall was this marble in which the Kala Bhairava Ashtakam was scribed, and I was sitting down there and I started reading it. And when I read it and then I prayed and came back, then I saw that the visual of the deity and the Ashtakam were the description of the deity in the Ashtakam was very different. It was like one Greek god, handsome looking person, but the deity is looking scary. So where are we? Where is this connectivity? Why? What is the underlying meaning of this visual description that we are seeing here? Who? How has it been interpreted? Why has he written like this? So these thoughts came, and I said, even if somebody is chanting it at home, without knowing the meanings, what we do normally, stotra or even the mantras, we chant it by heart. Okay, and the speed with which we chant it, na Om Bhurvasvaha, that is not the way. So you have forgotten the meaning part of it. You don't know what it intends to do, why it is being said, nothing. You just chant it in speed. So I thought, if we can give a visual description of the prayers, the normal human being who is praying at home, if he sees the picture or he sees the story and he sees every meaning clearly in visual description, when they go back home and they chant, they will be able to visualize the Lord. The idea of writing stotras or these prayers was for visualization of the Lord. Otherwise, how does Krishna look? How do we know? When they are describing he has curly hair, when they are describing he has lotus petal like eyes, when we are describing he has pomegranate colored lips, so then your visual description is giving you a picture. Similarly, the same thing in the Ashtakam also. So in Kala Bhairava Ashtakam there is a line where he says that Hema Kinkini Lasat Katim. Now Hema is golden, Kinkini is bells, Lasat means a very beautifully shaped. Like, for example, in normal parlance, maske jaisa, like very beautiful shaped waist.
मुक्तिदायकं प्रशस्तचारुविग्रहं भक्तवत्सलं स्थिरं समस्तलोकविग्रहं निक्वणन्मनोज्ञहेमकिङ्किणी लसत्कटिं निक्वणन्मनोज्ञहेमकिङ्किणी लसत्कटिं
That is the kati, that is the waist that he has. So, Hema Kinkini Lasat Katim, a waist which is so beautifully shaped, which has golden bells on it. Now, look at the picture.
You could see it.
You could see it. And then he says in one line, he says, he is the one who is the master of judiciary, judicial knowledge. He says, Niti Marga Kovidam, one who is a Kovid of Niti Marga. So, if you have any problem with justice, he's the one to go to, He is the one, Dharma Setu Palakam, the one who is the bridge between Dharma and you and who guards Dharma. Kashika Puradhinadha Kala Bhairava Mujhe, the one who is the one who guards Kashi is Kala Bhairava. So this description started enthusing me so much that I said, we must do it in dance. Traditionally, it is not something that everybody does. But my thought processes have always been towards traditional knowledge, packaging it and bringing it to you in doses that a normal man can consume easily without much difficulty.
And appreciate.
And appreciate it. And then take it back with them in their lives so that they can make use of it later. So Adi Ashtakam came like that, and so we are doing 6 Ashtakams in that. And then how do we select dancers for it? Who matches what? Who should do Kala Bhairava? There are so many good male dancers, but there is no science to it. Every dancer asks me, ma'am, how did you select me for this? Or how did you select him for this? I have no methodology. For me, it is coming from some other source. So when I sit and I close my eyes, it's very strange, but I can just close my eyes and I can think Kala Bhairava, and the person who has to do his picture will come there, and I'll just call him up and say, Mithun, you have to do Kala Bhairava. Like I wanted one girl to do Ganga. I just called her up. I said, Prachi, you have to do one of the ashtakams. Which one, Akash? She said. I said, Ganga. She did. So and then when she did that, that way she flowed, and the way she stood, and the way she expressed, and the last part I wanted that even one drop of Ganga, if it falls, it's not that you have to go and immerse yourself. Even that one drop, if you put on yourself, it can cleanse you. That I wanted to show in the end for people, and she just did that so appropriately that after that there was stunned silence for 5 minutes, and then everybody started clapping. So these selections also are happening because they are so appropriate for it, and it's coming from divine perspective. It's not that मैं कोई मास्टर ऑफ मैजिशियन नहीं हूँ सर में कि मैं सोच के बोलूँ कि नहीं आप ही इसको करोगे, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. They are all good dancers, and it comes to them. I remember one dancer, I had told him to do one song on Ram, and it was a very sad and slow song. So next day he came and he cried. He said, Usha ji, इतना स्लो है विलंबित में, मैं क्या ही एक्सप्रेशन कर सकता हूँ उसको, मैं नहीं कर पाऊँगा इसको, मुझे छोड़ दीजिए. ही सेड. सो आई सेड, सत्या जी आप ये करिए, और मैं कह रही हूँ आपको स्टैंडिंग ओवेशन इसमें मिलेगा, अगर नहीं मिला तो मेरा नाम बदल दीजिए. आई सेड. एंड व्हेन ही डिड, the entire audience just stood in silence, and then one clap, second clap, third clap, the whole audience clapped, and they were crying. And even today, after some 12-13 years, people remember that one song which he did, and they say, us din aapne kya, it was soul stirring. This thing didn't come because I think, or my brain is saying something. When I thought that song, I closed my eyes and it was Satyanarayan Raju, and he did it. So this is the spiritual connect with which such works happen.
It's the transcendental power of art if you become a channel to let the universal artistic energy flow through you. And Voice of Artist believes that there is a universal artistic energy. We need to be receptive enough to let it flow through us. And yes, like you said, one of the main aim, a desire that we have, is to make people aware that it's not you, it's not the it's not main which comes and does something. You let it flow through you, and that is where the humility of an artist comes from.
Absolutely. So my line on humility is, the first thing that you have to do in humility is to unself. So you remove yourself from it.
How?
Some divine power is creating all this entire creativity. And then one day he gave me a big jhatka where I almost died. That is the subconscious mind. That is your hard disk. And the whole audience is like one stunned silence. ब्रह्मास्त्र एक बार फेंका तो वो रिवर्स डायरेक्शन नहीं है उसके लिए. It will go and demolish, finish.